right, folks, grab a seat and pour your drink neat as Whiskers and Whiskeys presents Tales of the Trophies, Best of the Rest, Season 4. I'm Mike with EJ. How's it going, pal?
Yeah, I'm a little nipply at the moment.
You look a little nipply or nippy?
Yeah, well, nipply. I mean, it's my nipples are a little
All right, there we go, folks.
little pokey, little cold. For the listeners that can't see me, that are on Spotify, I am currently outside. And
You look freezing.
It's actually not too bad for now. But it was a cold day today. I actually was in a conference call with two people that I've never met in person, but and then very briefly chatted with. And I was like, "Oh, hey, I asked them to meet and just kind of shooting the shit at the beginning. I was like, "Yeah, man, it's actually kind of cold here." I was outside doing my conference call because my daughters were inside screaming.
Columbus Day.
Yeah. And they were like, "Oh, well, it was like 97 here today where I'm at." And the other one was like, "Oh, it was 100 degrees." And I was like, "Well, it was like 52 here." They were like super jealous. So
where are they at? And I'm already ready to move. Actually, it's not been that bad. The Pittsburgh weather has been. I mean, we had a great summer. Like probably one of the best summers. I haven't lived here for 12 years, but I'm pretty sure that we've not had a summer like the summer we just had in the time that we missed. And I don't ever remember a summer that sunny and that nice consistently. It also helped that I wasn't working. That probably colored my perspective, but I think it was legitimately just a perfect summer. At least it's going to warm up here and this weekend, next week. So we got, if it's cold and rainy Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'll take it. So
yeah, I mean, I don't mind the weather. It's just when it's like 45 degrees out while I'm recording a podcast episode at night, then it changes. It doesn't really matter what it was in the day.
I want you to just stop talking for a second. I want you to take off your hat. I want you to look at it. I want you to think what would MCDC do right now? What would Mercy Dan Campbell say?
He'd tell me to have some grit, and that's what I'm trying to have right now.
Type of thing that builds character. So he just said Aiden Hutchinson's out for 4 to 6 months, but he's not calling it a season. Refuses to call it a season-ending injury. He said, "Don't count Hutch out."
Well, that was that. There were a lot of reports last night that a lot of that was coming from the Hutchinson camp too. So I think Hutch is of the mindset that he's going to make it on the shorter end of recovery.
I mean, if it is 4 months,
there's only one single game he could come back for. Yeah, aware. We'll see if we can get there.
I tell you what, Lions look pretty good. Lions look pretty good. Oh man, yeah. My offense, both of them. Jeez, oh man.
Well, why don't we talk about the one that's not professional, and because that was another kind of surprising game, right? I mean, you had coming off of the disappointing loss at Vandy, Bama comes home, has a South Carolina team that I don't know what they are. Like we thought they were going to be a bit frisky because they have like a couple pro level players, right?
They're still frisky. They turn out some defensive ends like no one's business.
Yeah, and then they had a couple like games where you're like, are they frisky? And then it's like, clearly they were frisky enough. And I still can't believe that onside kick, man. That was a thing of fucking beauty. I didn't know it ended like that. As soon as I saw they got within 2, I was like game casting. I was like, they're not going to get it, right? Because that's exactly what would happen in this situation, right? It's like they're not going to get it. And then when I saw the game ended, I was like, yeah, that's not surprising. I had no idea they got the ball again.
It was no idea. Yeah, it was the best onside kick I've seen in ages, and it ended up being the second best onside kick of the day. So it's like, and we'll get to that second one.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I think it was at first I'm like, there's no way that was intentional, but the way the gunner went for it, I'm like, that had to be intentional. But anyways, no, I mean, Look, I said it last week. Like the team needed a gut check. They got one, and then they didn't really respond. I don't know. I mean, they won the game. Like that's good. People forget. Like I think the problem is that a lot of people are like, this never would have happened under Saban. Saban wouldn't be happy about. They wouldn't be turned in this type of performance. But thankfully, there's some people out there that are fact checkers. There was the one of the years we lost to Ole Miss. The next week we went out and played Arkansas and won 14-13. So like this type of stuff happened under Saban, man, and like it is what it is. Like it's just that it sucks. Like the team's not playing that well. The team is capable, I think, of some very good football. I think they're playing beneath their level right now. And it sucks when a defense that should be a lot better than it is flummoxed by very simple schemes. The offensive line still, I mean, man, it's been issues ever since. I thought that they got right against South Florida just by changing out a right tackle, but no, I mean they're just they got some issues, man. They need to get right. I still think they're young. It's a very young team, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. At least they got the job.
You just have a couple of things going on at once. It was never going to look perfect after a literal legend. Like a legend gets thrown around pretty loosely in sports in general, but Nick Saban is an absolute college football legend. So it was never going to look like it was never going to look equal to that to begin with, one. And then it's two, I think, had you lost to Georgia, I don't think this would be as big of a deal, but I think they got the carrot on a stick by not that it wouldn't be a big deal, but it wouldn't be because expectations went from we're not sure what's going to happen, but we've looked pretty good. Then you beat Georgia and you're like, we're the national champion, front runner,
that's
right?
That's
and then you lose to Vandy, and it's like fuck, and then it's like okay, it's a blip, right? And then you barely beat South Carolina. I think it's the Georgia game that's killing. Had you just maybe lost respectably, then it's like okay, clearly this is going to take some time. We're clearly still going to make a good bowl. We're not going to go 7-5, but I think the Georgia game was what kind of killed you.
That's a good take that I haven't heard before. It is actually a good point because had they lost to Georgia again, if it was like a respectable loss, but then had they lost to Georgia, I don't know if they would have lost to Vandy. But if they did lose to Georgia, then Vandy, I don't know, man. I think with the Vandy loss for a lot of people, it's like that's wheels on the bus fall right the fuck off, right the fuck off, right the fuck off. It is what it is. This season's it's whatever. I had no expectations going in, so whatever happens. They're gonna get to a bowl. They probably are gonna make the playoff. We'll see. I don't know. Still have some tests ahead of them, but those tests aren't looking as tough right now. So, and we'll see. I mean, Ole Miss lost.
Yeah,
LSU is good. A&M's good.
I mean, that was always a tough place, that was when I was doing the predictions and doing the research and looking, when I was getting ready to make the move to put Ole Miss in the SEC championship game, that was the one. I was like, this is the trap. The rest of it, it's like if they can just obviously it's a big call to say they're going to beat Georgia, but I felt like, and they still could. It's not like Georgia's looked fantastic either. Like this is a weird SEC where you have still some of these heavyweight battles that are going to keep on going, right? Like Georgia is going to Texas, right, in Austin this weekend, so that's a huge thing for them. Texas has looked good, hasn't really been tested yet.
Texas looked great. I want to stop you right there. Texas looked great, and I know
I disagree. They looked well. Okay, what was great because exactly
they won the Red River rivalry 34-3.
Yeah, but that doesn't tell a story. Exactly.
It's a rivalry game. It's a call is a top tier rivalry game. I mean, people like that. To use the cliche, throw out the record books.
What was the spread?
The spread was 14, and they covered. Or 16.5 is what it finished at, right?
Yes.
And they covered.
And so there's multiple reasons for that, right? You outlined them when you texted me, so I think we were both right. I
Totally.
think Oklahoma was very, very shortchanged with a guy that's making a second career start. Then, but a solid defense, and the defense, to their credit, that's what I was afraid of. Now, I obviously didn't think about just the attrition of the whole game, but like Quinn Ewers did not look good
But
when they
yeah,
looked good on offense. It was because they ran the ball and the
dude,
defense played awesome against a terrible
I
Oklahoma.
feel like you're really nitpicking because like, which is fine, but like they absolutely dominated that game in a war of attrition. They absolutely destroyed them in the end. And I think that that's what good teams do. That's what great teams do. Like they could have had they let Oklahoma hang around for much longer. I mean, it was a close game at the beginning, and then Texas just pulled away, kept making plays, kept pulling away. And that's what a great team does. Like the final score is 34-3. And like that's one of those final scores that was truly reflective of the game. Like, yeah, it was close at the beginning, and then Texas just dominated. So I
I
think that was I mean, what more you want them to do? Do you want
I'm
them to
not.
win 56 to nothing? Like,
What I'm saying is I don't think they looked incredible, and I'm taking into account that Oklahoma is not a good football team. Forget the 18th ranked one loss bullshit. Like that offense is horrific, and then you gave a true freshman the keys to no receivers, literally no, like barely any scholarship receivers, and before any of this happened, one of the worst offensive lines going into the league or going
okay,
into the season.
okay.
So I guess
So,
I'm not gonna give Texas all of this prop at the moment. I think they look
well,
good. They did. They
but
looked
hold
good.
on to your point there. You said that it's a terrible offense, but a really good defense. Well, they let the offense go down and score and get a field goal. Then they didn't cross the 50-yard line until like the fourth quarter.
Yeah, the defense wasn't the issue, and that's not what I was
Well,
texting you
the
about.
Texas offense wasn't
I
the
was
issue. They
afraid that the
scored.
Texas offense would look rusty, and it was exactly
They
that.
put
Does
up
it mean that
34
they're
points.
in college against? And you
In a
just got done saying
rivalry game
you
against
you
a very
you
good
just
defense with a head coach that coaches defenses that has his guys ready for this.
I don't know. You just got done saying how Oklahoma barely had the ball. They kept getting like having to kick it. So Texas had short fields. They literally got opportunity after
What
opportunity
would
after
have what would
opportunity.
you have been impressed by?
I would say 34, that number before half. Like, and then you took the pedal off the wheel. Like you said, this game was close-ish. And I
I
was just
don't
saying,
know. I mean,
Ewers looked like a guy that he didn't look like he did before. It doesn't mean he's not going to round into shape, but he looked rusty. And the offense took some time, and then they just basically wore out the Oklahoma defense at the end because the Oklahoma defense was on the field.
I
Now,
think you're also discounting the rivalry aspect of it. Like,
I've been on the side of this rivalry. I mean, we literally just bet them and they beat them 49 to nothing 2 years ago. Like it's a rivalry, but they were not even in the same hemisphere
well,
as
and
far as
that
talent
they
goes.
beat them 49 to nothing 2 years ago. Who was the head coach 2 years ago? Who was
Of
the head coach of Oklahoma 2 years ago?
Oklahoma?
Yes.
I don't know.
Head coach of one of the worst defenses of all
Oh,
time for
is
the
it Lincoln
last two
Riley
years.
still?
Lincoln Riley.
I'm this is shocking to me. There are two people in this world, two things in this world I never thought you would sit here and defend, and that's Venables and Oklahoma.
Dude, it
Like
is. They
they're
have a
not a
good.
good
They
football
have a
team.
good. In the context of do they have a good defense? Yes, a great defense. And I've been on the losing end of a Brett Venables defense at a national championship twice.
Yeah,
He does what he does well.
yeah. I mean,
I mean,
is that where do you think that ranks in the defenses in the SEC? Then is that a top two defense? Because that's what I'm talking
okay.
about. It's not beating Oklahoma that matters for Texas. It's not
So
it. So are they better than Bama's defense?
I would think they're probably better than Bama's defense. They certainly have a better
Georgia.
coach and probably better than Georgia. That's close. That's
Okay,
close.
so then it's a top. Then it's the best defense in the SEC. I don't know who else you're putting ahead of them then,
Georgia's
unless you
better.
believe Kentucky's.
Georgia has better defense. Yeah.
Okay, so it's the
Then
number
yeah,
2 defense.
yeah,
That's how
sure.
you felt. Then that's fine.
I'm trying to think if there's anyone else. Not Mizzou, not Kentucky, not Ole Miss, Florida.
I mean, I think you could start to put Kentucky in that category, but
Yeah.
I mean, what they've done against top tier offenses in the SEC.
And so we acknowledge that the Commodores have a top tier offense.
I meant Ole Miss and Georgia, but I guess we're excluding. I think they're the only team that's probably played
Commodores just beat
like
them.
that.
Commodores just beat them.
Yeah, and they scored how many points?
Beat them.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Top
We're
tier
talking about
defense.
So yeah, Oklahoma just okay. Now you're just in the mood to argue.
I'm just trying to track your arguments.
If you're gonna,
I'm
go
just trying to track
logic,
your arguments.
No, because then you're going to the logic of then if it's because they lost and we just got done talking about Oklahoma being a top 2 defense and they just lost by 30 points. So by your logic with Kentucky,
No,
Oklahoma can't be good. What do you want from me here? That doesn't. You're literally
no. Texas's offense is very good. Yes, they looked a little rusty to start, but they ended up winning in a dominant fashion, and I think that is important. I think Texas is very dominant right now. It's going to be very hard to beat.
I don't disagree. I just didn't. I just don't think they've had like that was the best test they had.
Sure,
and they basically played
far
a high school team on one side of the ball. So I'm sorry that I don't put it in that level of tough. Is it toughest?
But they did what they had to do against that high school offense.
That's fine. You're totally missing what I'm saying. You're totally missing what I'm saying. Yes, I'm not ready to say that they're going to win the SEC, that they are completely the most dominant team. When you're looking at the whole point we were trying to get to here is the SEC. Alabama's a mess. Georgia doesn't look right because they barely beat Mississippi State between the hedges. That's horrific.
No one looks right.
Ole Miss doesn't look right. Tennessee doesn't look right. So it's Texas. And I'm just saying I can't definitively talk about right now that they are just like the runaway favorite, which I think people are seeing because they haven't played anyone. That was the only point I was making. They've looked good thus far, but until they beat one of these other good teams, I don't think Oklahoma's a good team. I think we've agreed that Oklahoma's not a good team.
Yeah, I just don't know. I just don't know who else is really going to challenge them. Like, yes, Georgia will be a really good test. That's in Austin. But like, I mean, Ole Miss not looking so good.
Maybe. I mean,
Tennessee and Bama going against each other, like, geez, oh man, like that's just two teams that are very off track right now. This could be like a disaster. It could just be a dumpster fire of a game this weekend. So
good.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't know who's I can't see anyone be like that team is a challenger to Texas right now. Or Texas really needs to worry about that team.
Yeah, I mean, I will see. You're not wrong, but I'm just saying, like, I have to see them play Georgia, and I don't even think Georgia's that good. I've made that very clear that they're good. They're not great, but until I see them play someone, I mean, I just don't take any stock in Colorado State. I don't take any stock in Michigan. Like, okay, Michigan was fine, but I put them on the same sphere as Oklahoma. They literally are a service academy on offense, and their defense isn't looking nearly as dominant as it was supposed to look like.
Hey, you put some respect on those service academies. They're both ranked, okay?
Yeah, but their offenses aren't. I know it's fantastic, but their offenses aren't like threatening on defense. Michigan isn't running the triple option. So
triple option is hard to prepare for if you don't.
So that's what I'm saying. So that makes it even worse for Michigan because they're not even doing that. That's what I meant. They can't throw the ball, and they don't even have a tricky offense to prepare for. Then they played UTSA, UL Monroe, Mississippi State's arguably one of the worst teams in all of college football, not just the SEC, and then Oklahoma. That's all I'm saying. It just seems like I haven't seen them even play like a Kentucky that's clearly been a pain.
Yeah.
They're at Vandy. They're Georgia. Like when I start to see them compared to how other teams in the conference have played each other, that's all.
Yeah.
Then I'll have a better idea. And
Yeah.
then at A&M is a wonky, weird one to finish the year, but
Yeah.
and it's a huge rivalry for the first time they're playing each other in a long time, right? So
Hmm.
that seems like a mess. I think for them, they hopefully are already know they're in the conference championship game, and that won't hurt them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all. I just think more to come. I think if I were
Yes.
to take stock now, yes, Texas has looked the best, but I feel like I just need to see them play Georgia, and then I will
Yeah.
feel better about where they stand. Really.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. The next 2 weeks will be interesting. They go back. They go to Nashville
Yeah, that's
after
tough to
Georgia.
go after Georgia. Are they gonna is Vandy gonna take another like after getting beat up playing Georgia?
So
Good.
someone needs to arrest Diego Pavia. He can't keep getting away. If he beats Texas, lock him up. He can't keep getting away with this.
I mean, the dude like my boss Tom bought his first Vanderbilt jersey ever in his life, and this is a Vanderbilt football fan for the entirety of his life, and he's
Oh
never
God,
had
poor guy.
enough to root for to actually want to buy a jersey until now.
Well,
But the dude's a legend. Like the in at Vanderbilt, one win. This guy is a legend. Is he as talented as like Jay Cutler? No. There's one thing Jay Cutler didn't do.
yeah. That's he might go down. Pavia might end up going down in history as one of those college football quarterbacks at this point, man. If he, depending on how this season plays out, but
If he takes down one or two more, I mean, we're starting to think about like Jimmer Fredette, right? Like we're trying to,
what a pull, what a pull with Jimmer
like
Fredette.
that guy that didn't really have like a career past college, but he was just had that magical run.
Still lost to Georgia State though. That's why I can't wrap my
I know
mind around it.
that one was bad.
Like, what if they lose to Ball State this weekend?
So I was thinking about this. We're halfway through the season now,
Yeah,
and we kind of talked about the SEC and where we thought mainly what our predictions were and kind of where we've landed thus far. And I mean, for that one, I don't think any of us are. I don't think any of the teams we said are really ruled out at this point because there's still a lot of key matchups. But I think most of those teams are in a worse spot than we thought they'd be
for
by
sure.
this point.
For sure. Yes, very much so. Very much so. I think Tennessee, Bama, Ole Miss are all in worse spots than we thought they'd be. But to your point, because of the play of the other teams, none of those three are ruled out.
Yeah.
Georgia is probably where you thought they would be. I think that makes sense. But we'll see. I mean, Carson Beck obviously can't. Goofy looking fuck. Can't count him out, but
No, it would be absolute mayhem if they went into Austin and won this week.
it'd be on brand. It'd be on brand too.
It would be on brand, and it would just be like then that definitive like I don't know what's going on in this conference.
Yeah.
If that happens,
It's like the same chaos as the Big 12, but like better because the Big 12 chaos is just bad. It's just a bunch of bad teams, except for Iowa State. Yeah, the clones are looking real good.
We can pivot there. So the Big 12, Cam is just not the same. It's an absolute travesty because it's not just his hand either. Because I watched was this last Friday night against Arizona State, which is always a trap.
Yeah,
Dave will tell you it's a trap to go to the desert when you're these West Coast teams or even mountain teams. Like I'm surprised he picked it as his biscuit. I told him that was complete, like it was his own rule that he broke. Which
he picked Utah.
Yeah.
Oh, I hammered the Sun Devils.
Yeah. And it's just crazy because now you're at a place where like Utah, the offense hasn't clicked because Cam's been hurt, and even when he was playing, his knee, it's pretty bad. Like he's not nearly as mobile. as he's been, and that was part of what made him great. Not that he
Mhm,
was like
mhm.
this ultra rusher, but he can pick up those 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 yards when you need them.
Right, right.
But yeah, I guess like so that's terrible. BYU, a team we thought, well, I think both of us comfortably thought was going to be terrible. It's so far the best.
Looking real good. Yeah, looking real good.
And then the Cyclones, as you mentioned, is so far so good for me. And who did you pick? Was it Kansas State or Oklahoma State?
Oklahoma State. Just, I mean,
And
complete
yeah,
letdown there. I
it's
was just, I mean, I
I didn't
really
think it'd be
thought,
this bad.
I thought Ollie Gordon was gonna have like a John T type season. And boy, it is just not the case.
He shouldn't have stayed.
No, no, he's really hurt his draft capital at this point.
But
Um,
but like you said, it's been like a fun chaos though, and I wish now like it stinks because BYU's on so late all the goddamn time.
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
now I need to watch, right?
yeah. See
Iowa
what's
State,
going on there.
right. I haven't I only got to caught a bit of the Cyhawk game. I haven't seen them in a while. The Red Raiders, they're 3-0 in the conference.
Yeah,
Haven't
that's
haven't
true.
haven't watched them at all either. And then, have a bunch of crazy Colorado won more games than we thought at this point. The Sun Devils are in
No,
it.
I did catch Arizona State, Texas State a couple weeks back. That was fun. That was a fun game, fun back and forth there. So yeah, I mean,
So
it's
this is just it's a fun chaos. It's just not who we thought were, for the most part was going
not
to
even
be at the top
close.
causing it. So
Not even close. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Like, we kind of got that part right. We got the
yeah,
chaos part just completely wrong teams.
yeah. I mean, no one saw this coming from the fact that like Oklahoma State's so bad. Like that's really shocking. Like
Yeah,
I know you weren't high on them, but like they are
I didn't think
just a
this.
bad team.
Yeah.
Bad team.
And then in the ACC, I think Miami is doing what we thought they would. I think
I
both
saw.
our second teams are
Well, yeah. Yeah,
are rough.
Virginia Tech's in a bad spot. I will say I
NC State.
saw a sign on game day that said Miami's 4-2. Changed my mind. And I'm like, I don't think I have an argument for you right now.
No, but you could just see the talent, right? It's just like there's times where it's maddeningly not like connecting and not working, but
Mhm.
when it's rolling, like you can just see why they can come back and win some of those games that they had no business
Yeah,
coming back just because they on the field almost every game they're gonna have the most talent by far.
yeah,
It's just can they put it together and they have at least to this point enough. And then it's just like we had this lingering feeling potentially that they could do this, but just like God damn it, Clemson is just beating the bad teams again, right? Like
hmm
they're right there. I mean, the only shockers have been Pitt, and that's awesome.
they,
I keep waiting for that to come off the rails, and
yeah,
it hasn't.
yeah. I mean, I thought this could be a spot at UNC. It could be a trouble spot for them. But Holstein, man, he is just playing inspired football. I mean,
Did
I don't
he
know
ever
what
get?
Narduzzi said to get him in, but my goodness, like.
Yeah, did he ever get any time at Alabama? Like even
Not
like
that
garbage time or anything?
I forgot he was even at Alabama. So no, no,
Okay.
he did not. So, um,
That and SMU. I feel like we really
I was just
didn't
gonna say the
think
ponies,
they were going to be able because history is against them, right?
right?
To bump up the year at least. And most teams that do it have a bad time.
Yeah. Well,
They're not having a bad time.
some people said that they did that. They were smart in that they gave up their share of the TV money to the ACC champion, and now it's like playing
Yeah.
the long game. They're just gonna go ahead and win the ACC. I mean,
No problems.
yeah, it's interesting because like I thought the ACC was going to be like chaotic and bad, and I think that the Big 12 is chaotic and bad. I don't know
Yeah.
actually. I mean, big BYU and Arizona State are kind of fun, but then and obviously the Cyclones are fun. But then like the ACC is like, I mean, Virginia's like kind of good. Yeah, SMU, Pitt's a blast to watch, and being the hometown kid, obviously. Yeah, I mean it's really it's there's only one conference where I think everything's kind of just going as predicted. I mean, we've talked about the SEC chaos, talked about the Big 12 chaos, talked about the ACC chaos. And I think Miami's also like I think the refs. I think the ACC is just like, guys, we just they're our best hope to like have a first round bye in the playoff. Just whatever it takes. Just let them get these wins in. Um, but that being said, I mean, Big Ten, the Ducks, your boy Puddles, all over game day, looking great. And that game, I mean, I think this weekend just like preseason, the things came out and said like this is going to be like the best week of the year, and like boy did it live up to all of that, I mean, yeah, Penn State USC early on, that was a great game, super super close. Obviously, we talked about Tennessee and Florida end up being close. LSU and Ole Miss was a close game as well. And then, but I mean, really, the highlight was for sure the game that we all knew it was going to be Oregon, Ohio State. Like, what a game. What a game. How did it feel for you, having been there just the week before? Like, what was that perspective like for you watching it, having had just been there?
Yeah, so it was. Well, I think it was obviously very evident that it was loud,
Yes.
and I remember like reading something on Twitter, which no things, no good comes from doing that. But it was just you could see a bunch of it was like my for me, so it was a bunch of like unverified accounts and stuff. But they were just kind of talking about Ohio State fans about like, okay, it's Autzen, like give me a break. We go to Beaver Stadium and like we win at Beaver Stadium, so like that's cute that you guys think you're loud. And that was one thing that I took
Oh,
away from the game was when I went there was, I mean, this was Michigan State on a Friday night,
yeah.
and everyone stood the entire time,
Yep.
which was great because you couldn't sit down. Maybe that's the reason why, is because
Yeah.
bleachers stink.
Yeah.
But it was loud. It was loud all three downs for the entire game, even when Michigan State was clearly not going to win and losing. So
Yeah.
I was impressed. And then what most people don't realize or don't know, I mean, they might have talked about it on game day. I think Puddles was totally fucking lied. It holds 55,000 at a maximum of 60,000. It
Yeah.
is small
Yeah.
compared to its peers, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a Mountain West, top end Mountain West like size stadium. It's that's smaller than an NFL stadium, and it's really small. And for it to be that loud and intimidating, and a lot of it is the steepness, like you are really kind of close.
Yeah.
To the
On top
field.
of each other. Yeah.
But yeah, so I took that away from it, and then the other thing I forgot to mention was when we talked about how Oregon was like Midwestern friendly.
Yeah.
I said that I forgot to tell you that next week, as in this last weekend, was going to ruin it for them because Michigan State fans, and I would say probably definitely like your Wisconsins, your Iowas, I'd say maybe even Michigan. It depends on how they're feeling, but are nice, right?
Yeah.
Friendly fans, really no beef with Oregon. And I was like, you guys are in for a rude awakening when Ohio State fans come, because they are the fucking worst. And I was like, it's gonna ruin it because Oregon people are gonna be super friendly, and Ohio State fans are gonna ruin it for everyone.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, especially after losing like that, and what was it? Maybe like one pass interference call wasn't called closer to the end of the game, if I remember correctly, or something controversial-ish. It's like, those Ohio State fans were just total dickheads.
It's almost like that. I think that there is a making of a real rivalry here because
Yeah.
like Oregon's the only team. They talked about this on game day. Oregon's the only team, and this isn't saying much, but the only team that Ryan Day's lost to in the regular season other than Michigan. Twice now that's happened.
Yeah.
Oregon, Oregon, Ohio State have had some big matchups in the playoffs and in the regular season. I think that this is in the new Big Ten. This is going to quickly become a big rivalry. And with a rivalry like this, I do feel like it needs a trophy. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think that there's enough hate and vitriol and success between the two programs that it could benefit from one. I don't know if we make the duck eye. Now it is interesting that there was a Buckeye tree that was planted there by the Buckeyes. I think after like the 84 game, they talked about it on game day, but there's a Buckeye
Yeah,
tree
I
that's
actually
there.
I do remember someone talking about that when I was there.
Do they get some of those buckeyes from the that tree and fashion a duck made of made of those buckeyes? Like what do we do for this rivalry game? But yeah, I think it's quickly becoming a spirited spiteful rivalry that really deserves a trophy. You could do something with O's, the battle for the O.
Yeah, I mean that was
You
a big
know
deal too because I was like, you guys have no idea. You're about to hear OH,
yeah.
oh,
Yeah,
the entire fucking time.
yeah, yeah. You do a big O with the one half of the O being the block O, the other half of the O being the Oregon O. I don't know. I know, but I mean, yeah, they could definitely do something. Let's also take a second just to talk about the absolutely catastrophic, boneheaded quarterback play of Will Howard there at the end. I also don't think I don't think that I think Dan Lanning's a great coach. I don't think that he masterminded having 12 men on the field to try to prevent a
No,
big play.
I
Like,
laughed so hard when I saw someone
it's just
actually
ridiculous.
post about that. I was like,
It's just
no chance,
ridiculous.
no
Yeah, I
chance.
mean, no way. Yeah, it's just so stupid. Because hey, guess what? Like, it's not a guarantee it's going to stop it, right?
No,
Um, or like another penalty is going to happen or something. Yeah, there
right,
you just don't give up free yards in that
no,
type of situation.
no.
But Will Howard, man, I mean, come on, dude. Like to take off like that, like just where's your internal clock? You know?
He lost the job at the university or Kansas State University. He
Yeah,
lost it. Don't be tricked. Not you, people. Don't be tricked thinking into he saw Ohio State as a better opportunity and let me go. No, he lost the job at Kansas State and
yeah.
was fortunate that Ohio State had Kyle McCord the year before. That I was not surprised because I was waiting for a Will Howard moment, and I jumped. I think immediately once as soon as Sunday came last Sunday, the Sunday before the game came and the lines came out. I jumped as soon as I saw it was over 3. I jumped immediately because I just got done watching Ohio State beat Michigan State and then Oregon beat Michigan State, and I came away with they're very similar. Like
Yeah.
there was nothing in either of those games that differentiated them from each other in my eyes. So to give the home team that across the country the 3 and the hook,
Mm-hmm.
it was easy. Not to say like I was hoping the Ducks would win and I was glad they did, but I did not think there was any chance they weren't going to cover.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of that cap is just because Will Howard makes dumb mistakes against Michigan State. He made some
Mm-hmm.
really dumb mistakes against a much inferior defense.
Yeah.
And while he did not have a takeaway, which was good on him, right? Like he actually had a game. I don't know. It just didn't surprise me that he was a doofus and ran like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think there's any guarantees their kicker would have made it from there anyway. But
No, no. I was waiting all game for him to make a mistake like
yeah,
that, and he just chose the perfect time to do it. So yeah.
yeah. I mean, yeah. And as far as Big Ten goes, yeah. I mean, it was a great game, classic game. Went to the home team. If they played on a neutral site, Ohio State can easily win that game. Like I didn't see anything that like clearly made Oregon look better. I think they're very evenly matched, and I think also Ohio State was a bit beneficial. I was a bit nervous. I think I might have texted you about Birch being hurt. I had no idea
Yeah.
he was even
Yeah.
like potentially
Yeah.
on the injury report, and he's their best defender. So
Yeah.
he could have wrecked havoc a little bit, but I don't know.
Is there anything that you saw in this game or that you've seen kind of like throughout the season till now that takes you off of these two teams meeting again in the Big Ten championship?
I don't think so because if
Yeah,
it's not
same.
them, who else, right? I
Yeah.
think neither have looked as good as I thought they would, but they're still very good. And I think
Yeah.
they probably played their best. Both of them played their best game this last week, obviously minus that bad mistake. But I think they both looked good. I
Yeah.
didn't come away thinking like, ugh, these teams are terrible. This is the
Yeah.
best we've got. But Penn State, like I just still can't trust Penn State. And that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Because they should have lost that USC game against a team that is the perfect matchup for them as far
Yeah.
as like on offense, them being able to completely bully them. And they still almost blew it. And I guess until I see Penn State win against Ohio State, and then no one's behind them. So
Yeah. Yeah. Hoosiers, maybe.
that's the old thing. And I think let me see, I can actually tell you, I'm pretty sure they avoid a lot of the big teams. So like, I guess they could get there just by de facto, right? Like they're undefeated and they play Nebraska, Washington, both at home, at Michigan State. Okay, they do play Ohio State. Home against Michigan and then at Ohio State and then Purdue, a rivalry game at the end. But I mean, say they beat all those teams going into Ohio State, and Ohio State has lost, obviously Oregon, and then if they lose against Penn State, Ohio State could murder Indiana, and Indiana's still in, which is crazy. So
Yeah.
I would say yes, but I wouldn't not earned. I guess I would say not earned.
Unless they be Ohio State, but that's a tall order.
Then that would be
walk
very,
into Columbus and make that happen.
that would be very earned.
Speaking of Purdue,
Yeah.
Oregon.
Yeah.
You just knocked off Ohio State, and now you're the number 2 team in the country. Congrats. Why don't you head to West Lafayette, Indiana on a Friday night, sleepy little Friday night game, and play the spoiler makers, and welcome to the Big Ten.
Yeah,
I think that's cool. I feel like the schedule makers of the Big Ten were like, we're going to show you ducks. Welcome to the conference.
Yeah, I mean, again, for people, we understand that Purdue is maybe 1-5, maybe. We get it, but Ross Aid, especially at night, is actually a pretty good atmosphere.
Yeah.
And then you throw it in on a Friday night, so students are going to be amped. It's number 2 Oregon coming to town, so that it's going to be crazy. But Purdue always gets someone, and not to say this is going to be a fucking win, but they do this. They do win.
Yeah.
Down spreads over 20. That's what they do. That's why they're called the spoiler makers. And for Oregon to be coming off of that high, having to travel all the way across the country to bumfuck Indiana on a Friday and short week at night, and you're laying 30 and you haven't beaten anyone by, I think, more than maybe 18 the entire year. Guys, I never want to say free money because Vegas wins, right? The house always wins, and those guys know what they're doing. However, I cannot see a pathway at all for the Ducks to do that and win by 30. I guess unless 4 quarterbacks die, which actually, because we like it so much, it probably means we're going to kill some more quarterbacks. But
I have a real tricky situation.
I know. What other game do you like? Because that just seems, sorry guys, like maybe we're giving away free biscuits here.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I won't say the other ones, but like I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games on the weeknights that I like. I might
pick the earliest one for your biscuit and the rest be your other 3 picks.
Well, see, that's the thing, because the one I like the most is probably Purdue to cover that massive spread against Oregon. What I might do, if the court allows it, I might pick my other games, biscuit the Oregon Purdue game, and then if I miss it, just wipe the other ones off. Like they're gone, and I got to pick a game on Saturday for my number 2 game. Is that acceptable? Would that be allowed?
What happens if they lose?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that like I pick
Yep.
I pick my other games,
Yep.
right?
And they win.
Whether they win or lose, it is
Okay.
what it is, right?
Okay.
And then, the Oregon Purdue outcome determines if all of those count, or, I could do the it could be this could be like an if then type of equation, right? Like, let's say I pick my other games and they lose, and if I lose my biscuit, then I just get 0 points for the week. Or if, like, one of them loses and my biscuit loses, then I get 0 points for the week. But if they all win, then I cash everything. I have 4 wins heading into Saturday. I don't know. This is we almost need a council. We're the lone decision makers here, but I feel like I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself to have everything go right. I also don't know
You
that
are.
I'm for sure going to do this, but like, I kind of for sure want to do this.
I mean, if you don't love any of the games on Saturday, I mean that's why we
I haven't
allow
even got to
picking.
Saturday. That's the thing. I have not even got there. I just saw this weeknight spread. I looked at Wednesday. I'm like, yep, like one of those. Thursday, yep, like one of those. Friday, like three of those. So actually, I like all four on Friday. I have a play for all four. This is gonna be an interesting week. So, I don't know.
All right. Well, we will see how the rest of the season goes. I feel like overall with our predictions, I think we are I think both of us are in a pretty good spot. We had some, ones that we definitely got right, some that we definitely got wrong, and then some definitely still in contention. So I think we're overall in a pretty good spot there, but I'm excited now. Like I think starting with Bama, Georgia, it kind of started that cascade of these really good teams having to start to play each other. And I
Yeah,
think now we're going to get a couple more weekends of that as we go on.
it was a
Um,
very, very fun Saturday. Like,
yeah.
soup to nuts. You had to be on your A game for hitting the switch channel button on the remote. Anytime there's a commercial, there's something else going on. Yeah, it was very good Saturday. We were blessed.
We were, and it's looking like this Saturday will be the same. So,
Yes.
why don't we transition to the trophy?
Let's do it.
Folks, I got to start with this. So, I feel like, as you know, we were a bit rusty starting this season off, right? Had some misspeaking of our song and our um, tags and even our endings. Like we were just we were completely off, and or it was accidentally pausing and and deleting, or is one ended, paused the different recordings. We've had pauses without any notice even to the other host. I feel like we were just kind of really scuffling a bit, and then we hit a groove, right? We were just sailing along real nice and smooth, and then I went and messed it up for everyone, because as I was looking at the schedule after we recorded last week, I was like, oh, the Legends Trophy's next, and I was like, I could have sworn I thought I saw Notre Dame and Stanford, like, on a line. Like I feel like I knew what the line was, and I was like, that doesn't make sense. I mean, maybe because sometimes FanDuel has look aheads, which is annoying if you scroll too far. But I just couldn't shake the feeling, and then I looked at my schedule, and I had said that they were supposed to play this weekend, and that's why we chose to have it released before this weekend. And then I realized clearly that they played last weekend, and I just don't know how I mixed up the schedule initially when I did it. So unfortunately, we're going to talk about this trophy, and you guys are not going to have a chance to watch the game and potentially see it live because it already happened, and I guarantee you guys weren't watching Notre Dame or Stanford.
Nope. Better games on this weekend. So, just pretend.
Yeah.
Maybe some people DVR'd it. They're gonna go back and watch it.
My guys, I hope you guys do, because today we're talking about the Legends Trophy between Stanford, Notre Dame. Mike, do you know what this trophy looks like?
I do not.
Can you give me a guess? I like these. I like when you don't know.
They just did a printout of the Legends division of the Big Ten in 2014,
Yeah.
and they pasted that crudely to a piece of cardboard, and
Yeah.
that's what it is.
So it's kind of like a sign.
Yeah, exactly. It's a big
Okay.
it's a college game day sign. Yes, they just really loved the Legends and Leaders divisions, and they're like, yes, we want to immortalize this and have this at the time represent a rivalry between a Pac-12 team and a non-conference Power Five team. Yep, that was it.
Yeah, I mean, having done the research on a lot of trophies now, I wouldn't be surprised if you were right.
Or perhaps a very tall sycamore tree right next to like a little tiny leprechaun.
Not a four-leaf clover.
No, tiny, well, okay,
Okay.
fine. A little tiny four-leaf clover there right next to it. Yeah, yeah. Just a massive, the trophy's like 10 feet tall for the tree, and then
Yeah.
just like the tiniest little four-leaf clover right next to it. Yeah,
I could see that too.
yeah.
Well, let me give you some history before we get into whether you're right or wrong.
Okay.
So the first game between these two schools was in 1925, with Notre Dame winning 27-10, and Notre Dame, unsurprisingly, won 7 of the first 10 matchups between the two schools. And this game has been regularly played with only a couple times in this year in a year that they've played regularly since 1988. So there was like, oh geez, I cut out my text there. So I think this game has been played pretty regularly between these schools since 1988, but there was only a couple of times before then that they had played. So the rivalry didn't really, even though it started in 1925, the first game, and it didn't really become a regular rivalry until 88. So they only played a couple of times in between those. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
This document, along with I think it was 2 weeks ago, got jumbled up when I was creating them. So I noticed that like some of the text for this one was in the other document.
Oh my gosh.
And vice versa. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what happened there. So, yes, sorry, didn't make it clear the first time.
I do wonder, I'm sure we're going to get to this,
sure,
how they decide on having a trophy. Because when you think of Notre Dame, obviously very storied football history, Stanford, I don't know. I mean, Cal talks all about their football history, but like Stanford football, like, I mean, maybe back like in the day, but like recently, you don't really think of the Cardinal as being a very prestigious football program. So how was it that these two became rivals? Very curious about that. They even all-time record, bowl record. They have 2 national titles claimed, 1926 and 1940. So there you go.
Hey, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything, Oregon fans, whether you have a claimed national championship or not.
Sure, I guess LA. LA played there.
Well, and Andrew Luck. There's been some good players.
Plunkett. Yeah, I mean that era when Shaw was the quarterback, they played really good football then. That, like I said, that Rose Bowl between Michigan State and Stanford, it's one of the best games I've ever seen.
Well, I can actually let you know when it was created.
Yes, would love to.
It was created.
Would love to.
Why it's named what it is.
That's why I'm here.
Okay. Well, Notre Dame does lead this series 22-14. 22 wins, 14 losses. So not too bad really on Stanford's end. But I think it's because they've caught some of that era that's also been pretty solid at least, right? With some of these names that we just talked about. So what's in a name? The Legends Trophy honors both the winning team and memory of the first game played between the two universities, which was the 1925 Rose Bowl. which is considered by many to be as being played by more legends of college football than any other game in history. So the undisputed national championship of college football was at stake and was described by sports historians as the man versus the machine. Notre Dame had become feared and famous for speed with a quartet of fleet running backs. And Stanford stressed power and counted on its roster of a blonde, hulking fullback playing on two injured ankles, numbingly taped. So that was that. They just went with Thor.
Wow. Yeah, they went with Thor
at fullback. He was virtually unstoppable. This game's heroes will be remembered as long as Americans play football. So this would be Newt Rockne, Pop Warner, the Four Horsemen and the Seven Mules, and the man Ernie Nevers. So Notre Dame was victorious, 27-10, like I had mentioned before. Had an attendance of 53,000 people, and was the first time in radio history a Pacific Coast event was broadcasted directly to the East Coast.
Wow.
That Rose Bowl.
Wow. So truly very legendary.
Yes. I mean, anytime you got like Newt Rockne and Pop Warner.
Yeah, anytime you got the Four Horsemen. Yeah.
The four. I mean, you throw those guys out there and it's like, wait, they all played against each other in one game?
Yeah.
That is pretty legendary.
Wow.
All right, scroll down. Tell the people what you see.
All right. Oh, yeah. Oh, baby. Oh,
I was going to say, if you keep going, you're going to get more information.
Oh, my goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Wow, what do we have here?
Did you get to the last photo? That one was for you.
Oh my God.
I can't wait for you to describe this because this is going to be so conflicting for you. On one side, it's awesome, and literally on the other side, it's evil.
Yes, it is. We'll skip the evil. Okay. Oh my goodness gracious! I think I'm fully understanding everything now.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, folks, this is insane. Okay, we have a circular wooden base with 3 tiers. The bottom tier is the largest. And then the second tier is just a touch smaller in diameter than the bottom tier. The third tier is I would say a couple inches smaller in diameter than the second tier. On the bottom and middle tier, there are beautifully polished silver plaques that include the Notre Dame logo, the Stanford logo, the year that the game was played, and the score. I'm looking at one right now that says 1925 Rose Bowl for the very first one, and they even carved a couple of roses in it. Beautiful touch.
Yeah, and now mind you, when he says it's the 2 logos, we're not talking about like painted on, like
no, it's engraved in there and
in
then
color,
painted engraved in painted in color, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It shines through the photo. It's a very nice nice colored wood too. Like a nice chestnut finish on it. Beautiful. And then on top of that 3-tiered wooden the top tier of this wooden layer cake, if you will, does have a plaque on it too that says the Legends Trophy. Presented to the Notre Dame Alumni Club of presented by the Notre Dame Alumni Club of Northern California. And then sitting on top of that is a absolutely gorgeous glass, like a glass chalice, if you will. So think of this as like a glass cup, right? with beautiful details of etchings in the glass and everything like that nice like fine crystal, fine china type of designs,
Yeah.
with crisscrosses and everything like that. That glass though, that goblet, if you will, is turned upside down, and sitting on top of that glass goblet is like a giant punch bowl with the same type of unique, detailed, like fancy crystal work with Notre Dame's logo etched in it on one side, right in the center, and Stanford's logo etched on one side, right in the center. And the only way I knew it was the glass with the bowl on top of it is that when I scroll down, when this trophy is packed and stored, it is stored with the bottom piece and then the glass and then the punch bowl, if you will, stored separately. And then there's photos here. There's a photo of Shaw holding just the punch bowl. And then EJ copied and pasted in a photo of notorious kid killer Brian Kelly drinking punch or Gatorade directly out of the punch bowl like an uncouth slob instead of using the cup that comes with it. What a putz.
So I needed you to see it. That was just a happy coincidence. I needed you to see it that people had drank from it. That was really what I was looking for.
Mhm.
And then I laughed out loud when I saw who was drinking from it. Yeah, this is a beaut. I was surprised by this because I'd never heard of this trophy, and I was like, "How haven't I heard of this trophy?"
This is awesome. It's so ornate and classy and like so befitting Notre Dame and Stanford. Like when you think of a trophy for these, and maybe I'm skipping ahead to the rankings, some of the conversation for the rankings, but like this just feels the perfect thing to give to like the Irish being this, classy school, gold helmets and all that. And then Stanford, the Cardinal, the pride of Palo Alto, and everything that they bring to bear. So, my God, it's gorgeous. I kind of want this, like for my house for the holidays. Like this glass crystalware is like what the fine china that you break out for the holidays.
Yep.
But finer.
So this trophy is awarded each time they play each other, and thankfully that has been annually, like I had said, since 1988. It's one of Notre Dame's, like I said, the games that they have scheduled beyond their other contracts that they occasionally have with various conferences. This is one of their steady ones, being an independent. So they do play it a lot, and then this is a trophy that is given to the winner on the field. So this is something that the players and coaches get to exchange on the field.
Broken. That's
because it's the two schools are also like, especially when I go a little bit further. I mean, it's not surprising that two very wealthy institutions with a certain type of even student athlete. I feel like it's probably of the two schools that could keep something as beautiful and probably expensive as this intact. It'd be these two schools, right?
Yeah. True. Good. Well, certainly Stanford.
Yeah,
certainly Stanford. Yes.
So this trophy consists of Irish crystal and California redwood. So the wooden base is a California redwood, and the crystal is Dublin crystal, manufactured in Dublin, Ireland.
Wow.
So they did not spare any expense.
Zero expense spared.
And as you had mentioned, the 3-tiered redwood base includes brass plaques commemorating the score of each game played since 1925. And this trophy was developed by the Notre Dame Alumni Clubs of Northern California. So when it said presented by, I think they also were the ones that came up with this. At least that's what this makes it seem like. And it was first presented in 1989 to Lou Holtz and the Notre Dame fight.
I'd love to know where Lou Holtz is right now. Probably laughing his ass off at Ryan Day.
Where's Lewis? Who holds it now?
I'd love to know where Lou Holtz is. What a fucking putz he is. I'd love to know where Lou Holtz is. I was waiting for him. Had they won the game, I was just waiting for him to say something about McAfee. Just be like, oh, best team Mike bye, huh, McAfee? Well, look who's laughing now.
Yeah.
Oh,
So just to give you, this was actually pretty cool. I got a little tidbit of information that I usually don't get. We usually have to speculate about it. But the importance of the Legends Trophy is perhaps best characterized when Tyrone Willingham kept it in his office while serving as Stanford's head coach. He reported that the purpose of the trophy was to impress potential Stanford football recruits as they sat in his office for an interview. He is quoted as saying that he pointed to the Legends Trophy and said to a recruit, "This is why you should come to Stanford to beat Notre Dame."
You think? Well, I mean, if that's
Right.
cool.
Let's just say it wasn't on the desk this year, and it's not going to be on the old Stanford desk next year either.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. Marcus
So as I
Freeman,
mentioned,
would get down with this though.
Yeah, this game was played this last weekend, unfortunately, guys. But it was a 49-7 win by Notre Dame. So even if you did turn it on, you would have been highly likely to turn it off because
Was it
wasn't even a
middle
close
of the
game.
day? Was it a 3:30 game?
Yeah, I
think
believe
so.
it's 3:30. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was a golden hat that took a little bit more prominence. Although you could turn that one off early too. Okay, you could watch Penn State, Southern Cal. There you go. That one went down the wire.
And that's all I have for you. So why don't we get to our rankings?
I say this very seriously. There's a lot of trophies that we talk about that, like, man, that would be nice to have, like, mini platypus, or I would consider that company that makes the Big Ten trophies, like in the Floyd one. Yeah. EJ, if you ever like want to get me a present,
yeah,
this is the one. Like, I know that I am not a diehard Notre Dame or Stanford guy, but you can get me this. A knockoff version of this, I would decant whiskey in it and just drink from it all the time. I love it. It's so classy and opulent. I can imagine, I mean, the guys from 1925, the Four Horsemen drinking out of this thing. Yeah, I love it. 5.
Yeah, it's a 5 for me. Not only is it somewhat unique. I feel like we've seen a couple of trophies
super unique,
looked like a tennis trophy or a golf trophy when you get like the shiny crystal. But I think the fact that it has the details are just so important, right? Not only does it have a pieces of each university, so it didn't go the route of mascots or things like that, but it was a trophy that literally used
Irish
materials,
crystal,
right?
Yeah,
that had something to do with both schools.
That's a really good point. Yep.
I loved that. Even the plaques. This is by far the best plaques I think we've seen. It just that detail in that. And then as Mike was describing the crystal that is 2 pieces and big enough to be a bowl, and they actually are encouraged to use it as such. You just know, even though it's a classy ass trophy, that beers have been yugged in that.
Yugged. Yes, yugged. I also like that, we're blue collar kind of guys, but like we enjoy the finer things in life too. And this is one of the finer things in life we can certainly enjoy.
Yeah, it was something where my initial gut reaction was, this is fancy, I'm not going to like it. And then it would just grew on me, especially that piece when it was separated. And I got to see it in action. I was like, okay.
Would not be nearly as cool if well, it's still pretty cool, but like the fact that you can separate it, like, that's huge,
Yes.
Like, my reaction when I first saw it, not knowing it could be separated, was like, whoa, this thing is nice.
And I'm just glad it's being used too, right? It's not just something that's like polished and kept away from people, and you know what I mean? And only exchanged by the 2 presidents. Like, no, it gets on the field. It is used, which is hilarious because it's probably too nice to be used, truthfully.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. 5 for me. History.
It's only been around since '89, so not a lot of years. But I actually think,
That's pushing 35.
hey,
It's not like
hey,
I
I didn't need to know how old I was. Uh Thanks. Draw closer to my mortality every day. Um, but that being said, uh, I think that the history going into that is what we said about the fact that they thought about using the redwood, the Irish crystal. Like I think that that has to kind of play a part in history because it's how it was created and the thought that went into it and everything like that. That being said, it's obviously been on the field. A lot of people use everything, so I'm gonna give it a 4.
I'm also going to give it a 4. And the other thing I don't think we've talked about was the things I like about it is it's only been around for 35 years, but at least it was, once it was a regular rivalry, they decided let's get a trophy. Like the second year it was, and it has been an annual rivalry. It has been pretty closely contested, surprisingly, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I also liked the legends part of it. So I liked
Yes,
like the history of the idea of looking back to their own history of the two schools
yes,
because
yes,
it's just like the intention of it being respectful matches what it looks like as well. And that's
yes.
okay. Sometimes trophies can and rivalries don't have to be respectful. That's fine. But I feel like it's a classy glass for a respectful rivalry that has roots, from the legends that have played
Yeah,
college football. So yeah, all of that. I think if the ask us again about this in 40 more years, and it's probably a 5, right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
for now, 4.
yeah. And then the rivalry itself, like, look, I don't know how much, hate and vitriol go back and forth between the folks in West Lafayette and Palo Alto. I keep saying that they're in Palo Alto. They're in Palo Alto, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Good. Good for me. I know my geography. I do think that the fact that this, even though it wasn't played that much from 1925 to 1988, I do think the fact that they had such a meaningful game at the center of this rivalry and that they have played a lot throughout the years and it's been good teams. David Shaw had some good teams. Brian Kelly had some good teams. Lou Holtz had some good teams. Like they're really good teams throughout there. I would be interested to go back and take a look at the outcome of a lot of those, but I'm sure it was pretty back and forth because what you said it
22
is
to 14.
22 to 14, and Notre Dame won the first seven of the first 10. Yeah. So, that takes, so then
It makes
it's,
it basically a coin toss in
yeah,
88.
because then it's 15. If you take that away, that's 15 wins for Notre Dame and 11. So it's like right there. So it's super close. I, again, don't know how, like, that goes more competitiveness as opposed to rivalry itself. So let me differentiate between the two. Rivalry itself, then, probably, gosh, just don't know enough. Yeah, I just don't know enough. Any Notre Dame fans who aren't just Notre Dame because you're Catholic, reach out and let me know if you really hate the Cardinal. I work with some people who went to Stanford, so I'll have to ask them what they think about it. But so I'm going to say a 3, just because middle of the road, don't know which way I can go on that one for the rivalry.
Yeah, so I don't want to. All I have is my gut feeling, and just kind of like what my logic would be. So I'm gonna go 3.5, and I just have I have a sneaking suspicion though, because I think it's probably a game both teams want to win, or both fan bases want to win, but probably there's probably not vitriol between the two schools.
Yeah.
So, but that's just guessing, right? I think it's mainly my logic would be, Notre Dame does only have a couple schools that they play annually, right? And I can't imagine that like the Service Academy rivalries are, never really contested. You're not really going to hate the armed forces. So, I know we're going to get to Notre Dame's real rival later on, but I got to feel like Stanford's probably one that they do want to win, and I'd be curious as well. My gut says it's probably much higher than a 3.5, but I don't want to just go off my gut because what do I
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And then competitiveness, I mean, that's where it goes into the math, right? In recent years, it's certainly been very competitive with some good
Yep.
teams. But so they're not, well, I guess I shouldn't look at it in the context of being competitive for national title, but it's been very competitive. So I'm gonna say four, four for competitiveness. Yeah,
Okay.
4.5, 4.5. They've been very close. What do you think?
Yeah, that's what I was going to go 4.5 too. I was just going to um, just look if I could get a little bit more information for you. Yep, real quick.
I'm gonna look at it too. I'm
Yeah,
curious.
so it's been streaky. Okay, that's interesting. So Notre Dame had like some 2002 to 2008 they had won, consecutively, and then Stanford wins, 10 out of the last, next 11. So that's interesting. And a lot of these games, um, there's a decent amount of them that seem to be overtime, one score games. Definitely a couple of blowouts on both sides, but yeah, I mean it's been pretty checkered since.
Yeah, what Notre Dame got three, Stanford got three, Notre Dame got one, but got vacated in 2012.
Yeah.
What they vacate for?
uh
Brian Kelly killing the kid.
Maybe.
Stanford then got one. Notre Dame got one. Stanford got three. Notre Dame got three. Stanford, Notre Dame back to back. Okay. Yeah, I mean, they've all been close though,
Yeah,
mostly.
I'd say it's competitive.
Yeah, for sure. Top tier.
Yep, top tier.
Yep.
And honestly, there isn't anything I would change. I had already liked what it looked like, and I'd forgotten um the ties in the materials to both locations. So yeah, for me, I mean, obviously we gave it a
Yeah.
5, so there isn't anything to change. But yeah, that just kind of cements it.
Yeah, nothing no notes. My idea sucked. I was just looking at all of our rankings from this season and I'm like, boy, everything's like top or mid. Nothing's even close. Well, I guess Schwartzwalder's close to the bottom, but not really. I mean, it was like just there because of the teams. But the trophy itself ruled. And like, yeah, I mean, the lowest trophy look score we had was the Apple Cup. Um, I guess that's why they call it the best of the rest, CJ.
Yeah.
I guess we're not wasting our time
No.
this season.
No, and that's going to be an interesting thing. I think now that we've gone 4 seasons, I think it's time for an ultra bracket. We did a
Yes.
mini one with just one conference within itself. We have not done conference versus conference, let alone doing conference to really weed through now that we've had 4 years. So even like what we potentially loved in the first season, like, is that, do we still love those things? Have we been consistent? Like, what's changed? I think that would be an interesting
Yeah.
thing to look back
What
at.
do we think? 32 team bracket, have 8 from each season, go from there.
Yeah.
I think that works.
That probably sounds right. I mean, there's probably about 8. There's probably not too many of those seasons that we went more than 8 top tiers,
Yeah. Yeah. Big Ten,
especially in the Big Ten in the beginning.
Yeah, Big Ten though, just ship Floyd to the champ or to the clear through that that's tough though. I mean, it really is tough to just ship him through. But Floyd's just so good.
He is. I know. We got to see Floyd.
Well, that's where
Yes,
maybe we shouldn't do 8 from each. Maybe we should do 8 from each season, but reseed them just based on composite rankings because we already did a bracket for the Big Ten, and yeah, I don't want to just have like a Big Ten region because then
Yeah, we already know
matchup,
we already know.
yeah. Well, we can reseed based on composite scores.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, that's going to do it for us this week. Follow us on Instagram at whiskers.whiskies, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And join us next week when we talk about the Jefferson Epps Trophy. For Mike, I'm EJ. Always remember, too much of anything is bad, but too much good whiskey is barely enough.
Cheers, boys.